I've got so much news today, I need 2 or 3 more JSNP 4s to report it. So I'm only going to give you the headlines of the soon-to-be videos, except for one I want to talk about right now. But coming tonight, student loans, next huge bubble to burst. Oh, that's going to hurt. Accused of deception, Citigroup credit card, big bank, too big to fail, agrees to pay $285 million to settle charges that it misled investors in a $1 billion derivatives deal tied to the United States housing market. Wait a minute, I thought only Goldman Sachs brought in investor money and then shorted the market behind the scenes after telling the investors they're investing in the great housing market and then shorted it. Oh, never mind, Citi's on that list too now. French President Sarkozy heads out to meet Merkel of Germany and leaves his newborn baby behind. Boy, he must be in a pretty important meeting, huh? Literally, newborn baby, gotta go, honey. Wow. Sarkozy says Eurozone talks are stuck, flies to Germany urgently. Talks are stuck on bailout fund. ECB role. We'll get on that later. Next headline. Is there going to be a record cold winter coming? I already told you there would be. Why? Because the Webbot said so. And here's 2 articles that will agree with that statement, by the way. Next thing, the worst case scenario, financially speaking, is closing fast. And when is that? A string of European bank collapses is dead ahead, and like the Arab Spring, they will trigger an economic disaster for American banks. So listen closely to this guy's 7 major advance warnings. I forgot who this was that wrote this. Weiss wrote this. But that's later. That's what's coming later, and I need to do each individual video for those titles I just gave you. Now, we all know the CFTC passed the position limit rules for silver and other commodities. They said we have to determine the real definition of the word swaps, put it in writing into the rulemaking so that we know when we use the word swaps specifically what we're talking about. So we got to define that word first, but we expect that to take about 2 weeks. That's what they said at the meeting. 2 weeks to define one word, swaps. What does it mean? Boy, that's a long 2 weeks to define one single word. But having said that, they said once we define that single word, swaps, then 60 days until the position limit rules kick in. So let's just say that was November 1st. Let's just hold them to their word of 2 weeks, right? And November 1st comes around, roughly, and that's November to December, December to January 1st, 2012. There's your 60 days. Now the position limits are in play. All right. But I told you, don't get all happy just yet until we find out just when everyone has to comply. And again, everyone has to comply within 60 days of the definition of swaps being finally settled. We think it'll take 2 weeks. What if it takes 2 or 3 months? Then add 60 days to that. And I want to share something else with you that no one else is talking about. So I might just say you're hearing this first on Realist News, JSNP 4. Then again, maybe some people are talking about it right now that I'm not aware of. Now, I called the CFTC yesterday to determine when is this thing going to kick in, and can you give me a little more description on how this is going to work. I got a call back today. Shocking. Ready for the news headline? JSNP 4 unexpectedly received a phone call from the CFTC. And the guy called me back. He said, yeah, you left a message for so-and-so. I want to call you back to answer some of the questions you had. Okay, great. So let me run. This is very quick, actually. There are 2 different sets of position limits that will be affecting silver and other commodities. But again, for you and I, as far as we're concerned, just tell me about silver. Okay? 2 sets of position limits. One is for spot months in silver, and the other is for non-spot months. So I asked him, could you clarify 2 examples, if you will, of spot months and non-spot months? What exactly are you meaning here? And the bottom line is this. Okay, the spot months would be like, we're in October now, so this month of all futures contracts and that kind of thing, this new position limits rule would kick in. Again, and this is the one that they said would take after 60 days. So if they finally come up with a stupid definition of the word spot, or of swaps, then we add 60 days to that, everyone has to be in compliance. But that only applies to the spot month. So what is a spot month? A spot month would be, we're in October right now, and I decided sometime during the month of October, I'm gonna go play a futures contract. Paper contract. And it may have to do with options too, but I'm just gonna use the futures contract strictly for the purpose of this video. And we're in October, therefore October's futures contract, which is, let's just say it's only good for the month of October, applies to this thing for the 60 days. So let's fast forward and pretend that we're in 2012, February of 2012, and this 60-day thing, it's already up, it's in play. We now have the spot months position limit rules in place. You got these big conglomerates, giant guys, you can only have so many open whatever futures contracts positions that you have, you know, up to some certain amount. It's in the rules now for the spot month. So only the month we're in is what that means. So I asked them, so considering in the futures, you know, markets, a person could, for example, we're in October. If I want to right now, I can open up a November futures contract. I can get a December 2011 futures contract. I can go into 2012, January, February, March. I could go out several months. As a matter of fact, you can go out significantly far as the futures contract is concerned. If you do that, if you go out above the month you are in right now, you are not considered a spot month. You catch that? So if all the big if today the rules were in place, all the big banks, the JP Morgans out there, massive short position, all these guys, what they can do ultimately is grab a huge short position way out, many months out in advance of today, and not have to comply with that rule. Yeah, that's what that means. Only spot months. So this month they couldn't play that game. But again, if they control November, December, January, February, whatever, all the way out, they have a nice spread of short positions, and they start selling off those massive short positions to push the price down, it's still going to push the price down of this month's futures contract. It does always. No matter what month you're in, the prices always go down. Does just because today's spot price is whatever and they start crashing the silver down, yeah, you see it live for this month, this second, basically. But if I go open up a November, December, January, whatever, February, March future contract of next year, those are all crashing too. That's just how the market works. So I asked them specifically then, what is a non-spot month? And as I told you, a non-spot month equals every other month, not including the one you're in. So that would be, for example, November, December, January of 2012, right, out several months, starting very next month, November, December, January, February, March, all the way out. Those are non-spot months. Those are all months in which they do not have to comply with any of the position limit rules that were just passed yesterday. So what did this do? Well, basically nothing. But there is going to be a time that he told me where spot months, which again, if we pretended we passed the 60 days and they came up with the definition of swaps, 60 days after they come up with the definition, by law these rules will be implemented. You can no longer have, you have to have position limits in place. They will have position limits in place for the spot month. They will also have to have the exact same thing for the non-spot months. So even though there's two sets of position limits, they both basically kick in sooner or later. The spot month one kicks in first, which again should be roughly 60 days from now, assuming that they can get this definition set in place by the next few days. Again, we'll give them a couple weeks. Let's just call it mid-January to February. These bastards should have the new rule position limits in place, but only for the spot months. So I asked them, so when should we expect that rule to kick in for the non-spot months, which would normally tell you is the most important? I mean, really. So he says basically, as part of the rule making, they need to analyze, starting this past August or September, I think he said, September 2011. They need to analyze from September 2011 all the way through August 2012, basically a year's time span, to analyze some kind of market data, something or another, before they can implement the new position limits for the non-spot month. So not only, and get me, here's where I'm going with this. And I told you, we may have to wait till we may go past 2012 and not see much action in silver or gold as far as we thought. Then again, I could give you a bunch of good reasons why we could when these bastards start to lose control. But that's another story. And again, the webbot seems to think we're going to be seeing some big moves here shortly. Of course, with the webbot, what if it meant next year this time frame? Oops. So what again? This is long term. I don't care one way or the other. I'm just going to report this to you. Once the spot month rules are set in place, again, let's pretend that's February of next year. That leaves the non-spot months, which means every other month than the month you're in, open for manipulation still. And they have to collect an entire year of data before they even turn that feature on, so to speak, with the position limits for the non-spot months. So we'll be in March, February, whatever, of 2012, and then, hey, the spot month rule kicks in just for this month only, the month you're in. And then when the next month comes, it's just that month. And then the next month comes, it's only that month. Every month you're in currently is what that means. What he's telling me is that probably by the year 2013, we should finally have both of these position limits in place. Again, the first one, the spot month one, will be in place probably early 2012. The non-spot month is going to be probably, if we were extremely lucky, the very end of 2012. If we were extremely lucky. And he even told me chances of that happening earlier is probably like slim to none. He says, I would probably tell you maybe around January or February even of 2013, sometime early 2013, where the non-spot months will have to be in compliance with that new rule. So in other words, the manipulation from JP Morgan and friends can absolutely positively still continue. It's going to, that's definitely open right now, October, November, December. They're not going to have this first rule thing, 60-day thing. Again, that's probably not going to be this year. So we're probably talking January to February sometime that they even get the spot month one put in. But it's only for the month you're in. You can have a futures contract next month, this 2 months out, 3 months out, 4 months out, 5 months out, 6, just way out. So you could, JP Morgan could put a bunch of short positions spread out through all of these months coming in, and as every single month comes up, because they got to be in compliance with the new rule per each month that they're in, they'll just liquidate the little tiny bit of their short positions each month as they continue, and then possibly put short positions further out on the backside, which it doesn't have to be in compliance yet till 2013 basically. The bottom line of what I'm telling you is we could potentially have to endure massive manipulation continuing from JP Morgan. Of course, the CFTC, by doing this, is complicit with them. And the CME group, we already know, does it with their stupid margin hikes. But the bottom line is JP Morgan themselves could continue, and probably will, pushing it up, let it go up, crash it down, let it go back up, crash it back down. That whole thing could continue for at least another year. Literally, a whole entire year from now. And plus another 2 or 3 months on top of that to bring us into 2013. So those of you who may be disheartened, I'm going to have to say don't, because I think there are other market forces behind the scenes taking place that are going to flush out gold and silver to the top again in the very near future, regardless of what JP Morgan does or does not do trying to manipulate the price of gold and silver, especially silver. As the euro continues to collapse, which again, I got this news, Europe, and not necessarily the euro, but Europe, and of course with Europe comes the euro, that's going to collapse. The derivatives nightmare is a chain that's linked to each other. Every little link in the chain, right? One of these links go down, the whole thing is irrelevant. That's what happens with the derivatives market. That's why they're trying to scramble to save all these too big to fail banks, because they realize if any of these too big to fail banks fail, they just so happen to also be major, huge derivatives holders, which is why, the real reason why they're too big to fail. Because if one of these banks goes down, they all go down with it. That's also why they're trying to nationalize that bank called Dexia, and some others. Now, that's a whole nother story for later on. And again, I've read you the headlines that I'm going to be talking about. So, I wanted to share the CFTC news. While this is a milestone, I mean, this manipulation has been going on for probably at least 20 years. At least. Longer than that for sure, as a matter of fact, but I'll just be nice and say 20 years at least. We're waiting a year and a little more, a few months, whatever, to finally destroy the beast, which is JP Morgan and the manipulation in silver and gold. And again, isn't it interesting how it's coincidentally timed with the exact time frame where Lindsey Williams said the elite told him they want the dollar and the financial collapse to already be heavy duty and roll, and by the end of 2012 they want the dollar to be just about worthless, at least to the world, which of course puts pain on us anyways, even if we do use that dollar here. And that would be just perfectly timed with the massive rising in gold and silver. So at the same time, as I said, we could see other forces that may be unanticipated by the powers that be, that even with the manipulation by JP Morgan doesn't even matter. And people who have nothing else left to lose, they're seeing their money decline in the markets, they don't trust the bonds, treasuries, just go crazy and dump it into the gold and silver. Even in the paper exchanges, gold and silver, regardless, it causes the price to skyrocket. So we can see that happen even before the rules stuff really comes into play with the CFTC. But I did want to share with you, not to get your hopes up based off of the CFTC ruling just yet. I said that the other day, I guess it was yesterday or so, and now I'm telling you now, I spoke with someone there on the phone, and that's what they shared with me. 2 different sets of position limits, and that's how they will work. So, and I asked him specifically, I wanted to talk about silver. How will silver be affected? And this is what he told me. So, they're just dragging it on again. At least we're gaining ground because we got these rule changes. And if it wasn't for the whistleblower, Andrew Maguire, we wouldn't be talking right now. I wouldn't be making this video right now, and the CFTC would not have ever had anything to do with any rule changes. It's a slow process, unfortunately. But those of us who stick into it for the long run, which is what I said we should be doing anyways, will be the huge big winners at the end. Patience is a virtue. You've got to have patience to weather this storm. I don't care if you're 60, 65 years old. Hey, I'm ready to cash out. You can wait another 2 years or so if you really had to really see massive gains in silver. Could you not? I mean, you better be, because if you've been watching my videos, I've never told you to buy silver and get ready to flip it in a year. Or even 2 years, get ready to flip it. I told you long term, and I also said, by the way, when I use the word long term, I'm only talking about several years. I'm not talking a decade or 15 or 20 years. Definitely not a decade. From the time I've been saying this, 2009 technically, just 5, 6 years would be plenty. So we're already past 09, 10, 11. We're almost in the 12. By the year 2013, 14, 15. There should be no reason why people should not be able to cash out of gold and silver and make phenomenal profits. Unbelievable. And again, think about this. Even with the manipulation that's been going on by JP Morgan for the last several years, heavy duty last several years, where was the price of silver? 13, 14, 15, 20, back down to 10, 13, 15, 18, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. We hit 50, pushed it back down to 32, back up to 35, hit 40, hit 43 again, very recently, by the way. Then it knocked it down to 30, 26 for one night, back up to 32, 33, etc. We're hovering around 31, 32 right now. So if you just can't take that and are saying to yourself, when it's 50 bucks, I'm out, I'm just going to sell. Go ahead. It'll be right back there in the near future. You're not going to have to wait till 2013 and 2014 to see $50 silver. That's like right around the corner. I'm talking the big numbers, 200, 300 possibly dollars, 400, etc. By 2013, 14, 15, somewhere in that neighborhood. If you're just sick of this and want out, by all means go ahead. If you don't have any to weather this, then you should have never done it in the beginning. And I've already said that 1,000 times. So I'm not selling any. I'm going to continue to buy. I told you I've got a little stash on the side on standby waiting to see if they really, really, really push silver down pretty hard. And if they do, I'm going all in. Again, big time. Oh, the credit card's already paid off? Yeah. Let me pull that old girl back out. Immediate big order goes down very rapidly. I'd probably buy 200-300 ounces, I think, at once. But again, what if the price was like $15? I may have to consider like 500 ounces or something, you know what I mean, at that kind of price. So I had someone email me on my website today asking about getting some more silver, and I told him, I was like, yeah, it's just a great idea to get some right now. Prices are great for silver. I said, just make sure you keep some money on the side just in case you see silver get pushed hard, heavy duty down. And again, the reason I'm making this video for you about the CFTC is to let you know we're not out of the woods yet with this manipulation. They may have just passed this law to make everybody in their mind, oh, silver, great, I can get back in the market. And they'll let it climb back to 40, 50, 60 bucks and then pull the rug out again back down to 30, 25. Or we're not going to get it built up right now, and they're going to clean us out again right now from 30 down to 20 or something like that. And I say clean us out when I use that word. I shouldn't really say us because I don't play the paper game. It'll clean the paper players out heavy duty. It will only give us, the real physical holders, a massive buying opportunity again. It's like a blessing from JP Morgan. On top of that, another blessing comes. Wow. So they get us in the beginning, and then we get them in the end, and then we win. So any downward movement is nothing but a buy opportunity. In the meantime, while you wait for 2013, 2014, 2015 to come in, and you see $200, $300, $400, $500 silver. So that's all I got for you. Until later tonight, I got some massive news to do. Take care.